like millions of other kids, it started when I was exposed to Kiss. And I see a little toddler mesmerized by what I'm doing. And he's looking right past the singer, right past the guitarist, and he's just watching me on the drums. And I just point at him and I wave my stick at him. And this little tiny human, a foot and a half high, is just like, yeah. And it's just like, it completely melts me, but just get really, really good at whatever you do. And I'm not tooting my own horn. I don't mean me. I mean, I tell this to my son. I could say that there's definitely a method. Like, I worked on a method for myself to help teach people that there's a step-by-step like brain training kind of thing. You could trick the brain into learning a lot of things. And also my all-time favorite drummer was Buddy Rich, which is big band swing era, the most amazing drummer ever. I would just stare at the television with my jaw dropping, just like watching him do a solo, and the guy was inhuman.
Hi there, I'm April Paige, breaking down the what, when, where, and how creatives get their inspiration. I'm a big fan of the cursey words, and I've been a creative for 30 plus years in marketing and fine art. This is where creatives unite to break down the facts of creative life. Buckle up, let's get lost in the world of creativity together. Welcome everyone to Artist Antics with April, where we talk to creatives about creativity. And today I'm very excited to be sitting down with Jeff Thal, a professional drummer, producer, songwriter, and teacher. He's originally from New York and currently resides in my hometown of Sarasota, Florida. He studied formally for 8 years, playing his first concert at 10, first club at 16, started teaching at 17, and recorded first record at 19. Recently played with international recording act Her Chariot Awaits and Frontier Records, and original drummer of Bumblefoot. He is mainly a rock drummer with experience of progressive rock, funk, fusion, and more. Jeff has played on tracks with Neil Sean of Journey, Stripers Oz Fox, John Finn, and Tim Ripper Owens. Currently in a band, A Deeper Down, which is his passion project, and running his own label, Have You Heard Records. Welcome, Jeff. I'm so looking forward to our talk today.
Thank you, April. You did a really good job of what you just said.
Oh, thanks.
I couldn't have done that.
I worked hard at it,
I could not have stated that whole thing the way you said it. And it's 10 a.m. I am like super impressed. That is great.
Why, thanks. Okay, so my first question of many, where did your love of music start? Like, I love that initial story because I know as a child where mine began and my art, and I sing in jam bands as well. So I'm just curious, like, where your love started. Was it a person in your family, or did you see something, or what sparked your love of music? Yeah.
Oh, that's an easy one. Yeah. So there is a lot of music and art in my family on my mother's side, but like millions of other kids, it started when I was exposed to Kiss. I was 7. I was 7 years old, and my friend turned me on to them. And his older sisters had all these Kiss albums, and they were like teenagers, and I was like, "What is this? What is that? I want to be that." It's like, so many people were influenced by them, and they were this iconic, inhuman type figure that it was so symbolic of everything rock and roll was, but it was bigger than that. It was it was this magical, monstrous thing. And Kiss Alive was the first thing I heard, which is the biggest thing, really. And I was completely, it was like shock and awe kind of thing. And especially at the age of 7.
Yeah.
And like, as I said, like millions of others, me and my friends, and we all were completely influenced. So moving forward a little bit, it wasn't really going on with the years, it wasn't really a musical influence as much as it was an inspiration of, I want to be that.
Yeah.
I want to be that. Whatever that is, and however they got there, I want to be that.
Yeah.
And they were these regular guys out of New York, like we
Right.
were. And they got sick of their jobs and they said, hey, I got this mastermind idea. Let's do this. And that's what they did. And when you really think of what it became from when they were playing clubs and putting on their makeup and having to do that in the club scene, which is quite bold.
Right.
Yeah,
Especially
really.
for
And
rockers. I mean, it's like theatrical rock, right? I
it is.
really think
And
of it
honestly,
that
it's really,
way.
it is.
Yeah.
They
But
just really had a good gimmick. They
yeah,
worked it. They just had a good gimmick. They made it into $1 billion idea and they worked it to death, to the,
yeah, and nobody
the
else was
thousandth
doing it,
degree.
so it
Yeah.
made it original,
Yeah.
and I'm sure that's why people wanted to go see them, not just because they're great musicians, but, the fact that it was such a show and an experience, so
Yeah. They
very
went over the top. And so that was the inspiration to get into music.
Mhm.
And drums were, I honestly don't know what the gravitational pull was, but something just, I don't know what it was. I didn't try any other instruments. I didn't. So it's not like there was a trial and error phase where I tried guitar and bass and keyboards and singing, and I said, okay, I guess drums is it. No, I knew I just went for the drums right away. Just like when I'm playing a show somewhere and I see a little toddler mesmerized by what I'm doing, and he's looking right past the singer, right past the guitarist, and he's just watching me on the drums. And I just point at him and I wave my stick at him, and this little tiny human, 1.5 feet high, is just like, yeah, and it's just like it completely melts me. But I
Yeah,
guess that's what happened to me. Honestly, I really don't know. But I could tell you that I did not try any other instrument. I just went right for the drums.
interesting.
And I love the whole band Kiss, but I was just very influenced by that. And I would learn all the songs and we started
Yeah,
jamming to them right away. We didn't waste any time. And that's the way it went. So, and then when I got into music in general and started playing, I was influenced by many, many, many artists. I would learn
oh,
every
I'm
song from every album and
yeah,
just put the headphones on and just crank it up and try to play along. And, I was taking lessons too. So as the lessons got better, I was able to play more stuff.
there you
And
go.
that's the way it went. But there were a lot of influences that superseded and definitely transcended the Kiss thing.
Yeah.
But Kiss was symbolic of the entire thing and the
Yeah,
whole
that's
reason why
awesome.
anybody would get into this in the first place,
Yeah.
because it's a tough industry. So like, why would we do it? I
Yeah,
would look
you
at the
gotta love
poster.
it.
Yeah.
You gotta love it because, I mean, the brass ring, making it, so to speak, quote unquote, that's what everybody dreams of. But most of us, unlike you, can't do it for a living. So,
Yeah. Honestly,
yeah, no, that's
You probably can if you have a plan, and it takes a
yeah,
while to figure it out. I can tell you this: just get really, really good at whatever you do. And I'm not
yeah,
tooting my own horn. I don't
that's
mean
it.
me. I mean, I tell this to my son. I say, if you want to make a living doing something,
Get really
just
good at it. Yeah,
master it, study it, whatever it takes. If it's schooling, whatever it takes, put in the time, get really good at it. And there's always a way to make a living because at least you could teach it or
yeah,
something. There's always going to be other people that want to learn from you, or if you can't perform it, you could teach it or whatever. But there's a way to make a living. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to, be playing in front of 100,000 people in a stadium, but making a living could absolutely be achieved without a doubt. You just have to think about it a little bit, but at least be good enough to have something to offer people,
yep,
to make them want to pay for it, or at
yep,
least pay to learn from you what you did,
yep.
just
Yeah,
and then have a plan, really. But it wasn't always like that. I could
yeah,
tell
no,
I could,
they say it takes 10,000 hours to master anything, right? So you
yeah, and
gotta
then
put in the
100,000 hours to make a living. It's like it's not. Yeah, it's funny. I talk about this with all my musician friends and anybody who's willing to talk about this stuff. Why do we do it? It's like, why do we do this? It's such a hard industry. It is. It's so hard. Why do we do it? You gotta love it. You
Yeah,
absolutely have to
yeah,
love doing it,
because
and
then
that's
it
why.
pulls
it pulls you through those difficult times,
It
right?
does. It's
Yeah.
the love for music, and you can't get it out of your blood. You can't.
Yeah.
If it started with childhood and you were just born to do it, like I knew this was
Yeah.
my calling. At 10 years old, I knew this was my calling for better or for worse. And I
Yeah.
always say it's been better and it's been worse. And
Yeah.
I usually ride the middle somewhere. But it is what it
Well,
is. We love music. We don't necessarily love the music industry.
right.
This is fucking
Well,
horrible.
yeah. Well, things are changing, I think a little bit anyway with a way to get music out there, but and we're going to talk about that. But
Yeah.
um so, I've tried drums and I can tell you that I got past 8 bars, measures, whatever you want to call it, and all the wheels fell off. So I can't I can't do it. And you have to be ambidextrous, with your limbs. I'm
Yeah.
not that person. I found that out very quickly.
This
So, like, how important is that to really being a drummer? Like, you have to have the ability to do that, right? Or is it
Yeah,
learned?
so I've been teaching since I was a teenager. I've taught
Mhm.
hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of kids and adults and adults. I could say that there's definitely a method. Like I worked on a method for myself to help teach people that there's a step-by-step like brain training kind of thing.
Okay.
You
Okay.
could trick the brain into learning a lot of things if you take a very methodical step-by-step process to do it, and you have these tiny little building blocks. I could usually get anybody playing their first beat in 10 to 30 minutes. Usually the first
Cool.
lesson. First lesson, adult, child starting with zero. It's you don't just jump in. You don't jump
Right.
in trying to do the whole thing. I get one hand going and then another hand going, and it's like, okay, the brain could process that. It could
Right.
process that. Most people don't have a problem with that, and I say that it's literally because some people were born to play the drums,
Right.
and some people were born to play piano, and some
But it
people are an amazing basketball player. So
but it's
there
good to know that it's trainable. That's good.
it
Yeah.
is, and I
Yeah.
had to. Well, it was actually a challenge for me because some people didn't learn as well, and it's just as it's not. I'm not coming from a judgmental standpoint. It's
Yeah.
factual. This is
Yeah.
life. I can't build a house. All
Yeah.
right, I gotta
No.
own that. I have to own it. I can't build a house. Tony can. But he
And he's also a musician.
practices a lot. Um, uh, woo.
Ah.
But
So
but
so,
yeah,
um, if if you were such a, like, prodigy as a child, I would say, you must have had a lot of supportive parents or
I
somebody
did.
really behind you who helped to support you
Yeah,
as you were young, to encourage you, things like that. So what
I
did
did.
that look like?
I was fortunate and blessed that my parents were very supportive. Some are not. They were. And I won't even say that was very flattering when you said prodigy. Honestly, I took 8 years of lessons and I practiced my ass off. I
Okay.
did. I took 8 years of lessons every week for 8 years. Two different teachers. Jazz and big band background was really their thing. Extensive reading, counting, metronome. Uh, I mean, tons of books.
Right.
And I dove in. I wanted to impress my teachers. I really wanted it. I really, really wanted it. And I practiced. My parents had to drag me off the drums to do homework,
Okay.
eat
Yeah.
dinner. When I wasn't practicing for my drum lesson, I was playing to all my records: Kiss, The Who, Led Zeppelin, AC/DC, The Police, Jimi Hendrix, everything I could get my hands on. And then as I progressed into my teens, it was Rush and Yes and all this progressive stuff. And then it was metal, Judas Priest, Iron Maiden, Ozzy, and everything else. And it just kept expanding. But my teachers were a huge influence to me, but I practiced. It didn't just come to me. I did take to it fast, and that's what they told me. But I wasn't born with the gift of drums and
Mhm.
drumming. I didn't know anything about drums until I started taking lessons. I started at 0, blank slate, and I just listened to what he said and I practiced. So I feel like a lot of people could do that. Anybody could do that.
Yeah.
Some learn quicker than others. Some learn slower than others. Some you have to work on certain methods that might work better than others. And now we're very lucky. We have the internet with YouTube and any other, video sites that have instructional videos and whatnot. We didn't have that. So if you didn't take one-on-one instruction from somebody back in the day, if you weren't this gifted prodigy, like you said, and you could just be the self-taught master, you're shit out of luck, So now the internet could teach you a lot.
No, it's the barrier to entry is very low nowadays. So it's much easier than it ever was to learn things. And I use YouTube every day almost.
Oh yeah, no, it's great.
Yeah. So what about your style? Like, how did you come up with your style? I know me as a fine artist, I'm working on a new style for my paintings. Like, I'm merging these two artists that I love and trying to put more energy and life onto my work, because in the past, right now, it's very flat to me, like my style. So I'm growing and emerging into a new style right now, and I'm playing around with that. So does that happen with drums? Like, did you create your style and you stuck with it, or does it evolve? Like, does it depend on the music you're playing? Like, I just am curious about that.
Yeah, good question. All of the above. I'll tell you why. I always wanted to be a rocker, right? And it's as I said, it started with Kiss. It did, and that went into my bones. So that was very deep rooted, and it went into the DNA of Jeff. And I always wanted to be a rock and roller. However, I didn't study, and I think this is key. I did not study drums from a rock drummer. I studied from a very old school academic jazz guy. And I'll give you some props. Alan, my first teacher, Alan Wilkov, Staten Island, New York. Shout out. Lane Music Center, Alan.
But that was probably good, right? I would think.
Oh, yeah. He was very
perspective. Yeah.
Very strict with me, and I respected him. And his chops, meaning his skills, were great, but very strict with me with the stick control, dynamics, and the counting, and the reading, and the metronome, and everything. And I just listened because he was better than me. I wanted to be like him.
Yeah.
So until I get to that point, I'm just going to shut up and I'm going to listen to him, and I'm going to do what he says.
Ooh,
because I like he plays great. So, but he was a jazz guy. So basically what happened was I was trained that way. Now, he did give me rock studies as well. It was very diversified and well-rounded with the books. But I was influenced by the way he played. And also my all-time favorite drummer was Buddy Rich, which is big band swing era, the most amazing drummer ever. I would just stare at the television with my jaw dropping, just like watching him do a solo. And the guy was inhuman. So that was a huge influence too. So they weren't really rock drummers, but then I wanted to be a rocker. So I would listen to all the rock music and play along with it. All those bands that I mentioned and whatnot. That was more of my thing. But I was trained by a jazz guy, and I had those skills, and I was really into rudiments at an early age. I dove right into all the rudiments, all the, the way you would do scales on the piano. That's what rudiments are in the drums. So all the technical stuff, your hand abilities, your skills, and everything else. So I basically applied those jazz and fusion chops, with fusion is everything else that he showed me, rock, jazz, this and that, to my rock playing. And that's how I developed my own thing. And then, but another thing that comes into play, and I really try to instill these inspirational little tips into my students' brains, is be creative. Please think for yourself. I encourage it. I'm not a very structured teacher. Think outside the box. What would you do with this? I'm going to give you one idea. I'm going to set you on your path. But what would you do with this if I gave you complete freedom to express yourself and use your imagination to create something on your own. Go, show me. Just whatever. There's no wrong answer. There's no wrong answer. It's creativity. There's no wrong answer. I'm not judging you. Show me what you got.
As long as you stay on the beat.
Well, yeah. I'll correct you if you don't. Yeah, if you speed up, if you're all over the place, that would be considered wrong. And somebody has to reel them in a little bit. But I mean, I was, a drummer's job is to keep a solid, steady groove, and I take pride in standing behind that for myself and the way I teach people.
Yeah.
First and foremost, you have to do that. All the fancy stuff is the icing on the cake. You'll have your chance maybe to do it, depending on the project and the song. But realistically, you got to hold it down. And that's the metronome training. But I think it's very important to express yourself and be creative. And that's how you become your own artist. Otherwise, you're just a clone of everything else that people are telling you to do. So I really try.
And you have to pay attention to the other musicians too. I think that's
absolutely
really important. After you get your technique down and your style and you feel really solid about yourself, I think learning to improv with the other people is really what makes a band cohesive, right? So if you go off and do your own thing and you think it's great for the music, but it's not cohesive for the band or the song that you're playing, then I think that you're doing a disservice to the band. So you have to play in whole with the group. But also there's pockets of you able to be, independent and show your own style, I think, in there.
Absolutely. But you have to, it's hard. I was just one of those kids that, and even into my adulthood, I'd be like, well, what would I do with this? What could I change with this to make it my own or make it what I would say better, or at least different, right? So I would take that with my book studies or my instructional books that my teachers would give me. I would do it the way they told me to do it. B, I would come up with my own ideas, a spin-off of that for fun, just for fun. And that's how I developed my own style, really. I mean, I can't imagine not being that way, honestly. Mm-hmm. And that's probably the way I live my life in general. And that's why I'm an artist instead of an accountant. But, not knocking accountants, I need one and I have one, but I'm not one.
We all have our gifts, is what I say.
Taxes and you can come see me play.
Yeah, exactly.
Give and take. This is what makes the world go round.
Barter.
Yeah.
So this question I usually ask all my guests, but I don't know how much it applies to you because you were so young when you were starting to, thrive and be fruitful. So the question is, how did you transition to become a full-time musician? And maybe there's a story there. I'm not sure, but yeah.
I phased in and out of it. I mean, so I didn't really start making a living doing music, performing and whatnot until my mid-20s or so. And even then, so up until then, I was dabbling, going from job to job, like a lot of musicians do, just making ends meet until you make it. And so but I had a fitness background. Actually, most of my jobs were fitness related, and with the exception of working in a music store, but a lot of extensive fitness background. And then I actually became a fitness trainer, personal trainer, full-time, and I did that from 26 years old until age 40. That was very stable. Unlike the music life, it was very stable. I made more money and I made more music connections with the millionaires that I was training than I ever did with the musicians.
Wow, that's
cool.
We're
all sitting in the same dirty pond trying to swim around. These guys these guys that go into parties or whatever, or they have friends that just, my friend who works at Sony, or my friend who's an executive at Warner. That's how it happened. Honestly, many more music contacts doing personal training. But anyway,
cool for the audience, for all those out there,
it was rewarding. It was definitely rewarding. But in my 20s, I also played in at times more than one cover band and gave drum lessons to. And that was actually, making me a decent income doing that. And it was fun. It didn't even seem like work, really. It was fun in the
Yeah.
bar scene and whatnot.
Yeah.
But then in my 30s, I didn't do it too much. I had got married and did all that stuff. And I was mostly doing fitness training and doing it full time and giving some drum lessons. So the drum lessons was stable. It was, you build that up, and anybody could do that. Guitar lessons, piano, you can make a very good living doing that because it pays pretty well by the hour. But I don't like to burn out in any category. I like to teach a little bit and then go play a show, then do some, sessions online and, do some
Mix it up.
Keeps it balanced. To me is super important. I think it's key. You never really burn out. Keeps life interesting a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
That's a good point for everybody listening. So
just to answer your question quickly though, in my 40s, I did play full time. I quit personal training and I went back into music. I missed it. I went back into music full time and I was doing great. Honestly. I mean, I made a really good living doing that. I was playing 5-6 nights a week, booked up with drum lessons during the day and session work and everything. And that's how you do it.
Yeah. No, that's
Find a
great.
band that's busy. Find a band that's busy and join it. Yeah.
No, that's great. So how did you I want to talk about your passion project, A Deeper Down.
Yeah.
So how did you put that band together? What's going on there? Like anything you want to share with us?
I actually put it together a long time ago when I first moved to Florida from New York, like 2003-ish or so. Many people have come and gone in that band. The songs mostly stayed the same. And I had it going on around 2008 or so, dropped it when a bunch of people dropped the ball and blah, blah, blah. And, not everybody's meant to do that kind of stuff. So anyway, I let it rest. I blocked it in a vault and got on with my life and did other things like a lot of musicians do. They move on to another project, kind of left jaded from things that went sour and south and things like that. And then I honestly, maybe in the back of my head, I wanted to bring it back. But when I met my current singer, Jeff Arnold, from his project, 2-Inch Voices, they came into my studio to record. And I got a really good listen of his, to his voice. Yeah. When I was engineering the project, I got to listen to it over and over again and have him singing in the next room. Yeah. I was like, damn, this guy's crushing it. I was like, he's got a great voice. I said, he could totally sing a Deeper Down stuff. That would be great. So then that's what really put a fire under me to bring it back, because I found a singer. I found a singer frontman right in front of my face. That was killer. I was like, that would sound great. Yeah. And I heard the whole thing.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's how I did it. So he's a great human. He's just a great guy. Yeah. Killer work ethic, nice person, lives close to the studio. It's like everything just fell into place. One of those things where you feel like it was just divine intervention. It was the right place, right time. It couldn't have been orchestrated any better, honestly. Yeah. I was like, okay, this is a green light, and I believe in that. I'm going. I see the green light. Yeah. I'm going with this. And he's all in. And so here we are. So we have an EP out now, and we released it, and we're looking to play out. I got some band members set up to play live with it. And I'll give him a shout out. It's in the talking stage, but we got Johnny Chromatic on guitar, who toured with Sebastian Bach from Skid Row, and my buddy Julian Simonelli on bass, who's killer. Great vocals too. Both of them sing. Great musicians, but great people, and that's the most important thing. Is their work ethic is stellar. I could rely on them. Their word is gold, and that means more than anything else.
They'll get there. They'll do the job. They're not messed up. All those things. So that's awesome. And
absolutely,
it's so interesting. You say it's really true about serendipity, or whatever you want to call it, fate.
Absolutely.
Sometimes those things just come together, but you have to notice them. To your point, you have to
Recognize when it's
be,
there.
the opportunity shows, you have to jump on it. So
I'm big into that. Yeah, I could talk
yeah.
to you about this. We could have a whole other podcast about. Yeah, but we'll
Yeah.
need to reserve like 4 hours instead of one.
Yeah, for sure.
It's no, I'm a firm believer in that law of attraction
Yep.
and putting your vibration down, and it seems to work every damn time.
Yeah.
But you have to acknowledge when it's happening, and that's the thing. Otherwise, it's just fluff. It's
Yeah,
words coming out of your mouth that mean nothing.
that's
So
right. You have to
when you
follow
see
through.
when you see the signs and you see a green light, jump on it. Jump on it and go, go, go right away. And that's what I did with A Deeper Now. And now it's just all falling into place. I'm not saying it's going to be a perfect story.
That's
That
right.
was, but
Well, and
I'm not
if you don't
expecting a perfect
try,
story.
you're not gonna know. So if you go in fast, you can leave even faster if you wanted to. You gotta try, and if you get
Absolutely.
those nudges,
If you don't
um,
go for it, you're guaranteed to get a big
yeah,
fat zero.
yeah, you don't take the risk, there's
Yep.
nothing. Um, so what is your process in general? I don't know if you want to talk about songwriting or producing, it's up to you, or both. When you're creating from like an idea to the final cut, like what is that, or the final song? What does that
So
look like? What does your process look like?
it's interesting. So it's changed over the years. I started writing songs when I was 22. Bought a keyboard, started writing, getting some melodies. I wanted to expand, broaden my horizons from just drumming, and so I started writing. It was very different than the way I do it now. I started writing. I was a drummer, but I had ideas in my head, and I used to write a lot of poetry and short stories when I was in like elementary school and stuff. So that goes way back. So I dug that back up and kind of reignited that within me, and I started writing lyrics. But I would write the music in a very percussive format on the keyboard because I'm a drummer. So I would write very pop, 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 pop,
Yeah, yeah.
and then get the lyrics to match what I did percussively. That changed over time. The more I started working with more vocalists, and I started writing from a singer's perspective, where I would be just
Mm.
honestly just daydreaming in the car or in the shower or something like that. Let the subconscious mind just work on it, and I would come up with melodies the way a singer would. And I didn't need any instrument to do that. I would have the melody and the vocal line in my head, usually the chorus. I would come up with the catchphrase first, and get my hook. Once I had my hook,
Yep.
then I would take it to the keyboard, finish the chorus, and then I would backpedal and start with the storyline with the first verse, second verse, and whatnot. I already had my chorus, so I already knew what the theme and the title was, and I still write like that. And then I write a story around my hook and general theme, basically, is what I do. And that's the way I do it now, but I do it in my head. And then I just use the keyboard as a tool, like a hammer, and then you put it down. I use it as a tool to get my ideas out, and then I show that to my band members. And I say, here's the guitar line, here's the bass line that I did, my cheesy little,
Yeah.
rough draft.
Yep.
And they say, now give me your best of that. Do what you do best, and we'll be fine. So that's how I do it.
Yeah, no, and I've talked to a lot of people that, creatives on this channel about how they receive, which I think is an interesting topic. So, a lot of the people I've spoken with say that, you have to just be at a vibration or calm your mind enough for things to come through. And sometimes it's not even from you, it's just something that appears like a cloud in your head, So I'd love to hear like what you think about that. Is it, we've talked about like all of that is kind of in the ethers and you have to have your antenna up in order to grab it and bring it down.
Yeah.
And that's where the inspiration comes from. Sometimes it depends on what it is, but like some people get fully formed songs that way, and some people, they don't do it that way at all. So I'm just
Yeah.
curious what you think about that, and like how do these things come to you?
Well,
Do you
so
have a
here's
certain
another
time
interesting.
that you set to do it? Like, is there any structure
Yeah,
to
but
it?
that usually is not the best stuff that I've come out with. The best
Yeah.
stuff that's come out of me, it's amazing. the best. I've written a lot of songs, and they're all over. I write rock, I write acoustic ballads, dance, like club music, kind of like soul, R&B, pop kind of stuff. A lot of it's female singers. It's not all rock stuff. Very poppy. Like I like to do that.
Yeah.
I don't want to just be a rock producer or anything like that. I'm comfortable with it because that's my whole background. But no, I'm pretty comfortable with dance and pop too. So the interesting thing is this, and this is a great conversation actually, especially amongst artists. When you sit down, I found when I sit down with the intention of writing a song, I'm going to sit down and write a rock song today. I need to come up with a rock song. It may or may not happen, but chances are there's going to be some writer's block with that because you're already going in with pressure to write a song.
Yeah.
It's a task. It's not a creative thing. It's not really coming from within. It could.
Yeah.
And you may manifest that, but you're already entering that door. You're walking in that door like, I have a task to do.
Right.
Really not the best
creative out of it.
Right. Yeah. What I consider my absolute top best songwriting achievements that has ever come out of me. They've all been kind of acoustic based, and they've all come to me in my sleep. I kid you not.
Wow. I didn't expect that.
It was
That's
something that
cool.
I honestly, yeah. And I had that wow reaction when I woke up that you just had. I would wake up, maybe it was 3 a.m. or in the morning after a full night's sleep. I would wake up like, oh, whoa, wow, oh my God, where's my pen? Where's my recorder?
Right. You got to get it quick.
Yeah. And I would stop.
Yeah.
I can tell you what they are. It's my song Dreamer. It's a song called Dreamer that I've cut many times over with different people.
Yeah.
It always works. No matter how I cut it, it always works. It's just a really inspiring, catchy, feel-good song. Say this one for me. It might set you free. 'Cause deep inside I know you hold on to the dream. Say just one for me. One more chance to see. 'Cause deep inside I know you're holding on to the dream. And that came to me in my sleep. And I woke up like, no way. So then you start thinking, okay, it must have came from somewhere. And you start researching every other artist in existence, thinking I must have stole this from somebody.
Right.
Without
you have those earworms.
Yeah. It had to, this is way too easy. It couldn't have just came to me. And no, I just, I mean, it might have been slightly inspired, but how can you retrace your steps since birth of every song that's ever?
I think that, you're immersing yourself in all of that. You're immersing yourself for your whole life in all of that. So it's got to come out in your subconscious somehow. But
I mean, everybody's inspired by a hook you hear. You could be driving the car and somebody else has the window down and you hear a hook at a red light coming out of somebody's car, and then you go home and you write a song. It's like, wow, that was easy. And it's, it's like, meanwhile, you're like completely ripped off somebody's song that maybe it was their cousin's demo from Arkansas. But, and here you are thinking, wow, that hook really came easy to me. I wonder how that happened, or it could have been the Beatles. But the thing is, I honestly searched the world over and I couldn't figure out, I felt like it was mine for the most part. And so Dreamer, another one, Madeira Girl, they're all very feel good, beachy, or just acoustic kind of stuff. Addicted to Butterflies. These songs are my absolute best work. Hands down, best songwriting are those.
Cool.
And they all three of those songs came to me in my sleep. And I woke up with this mind-blowing, it's like,
that's great.
No, can't be. Oh my God, I got to get this out. And I would write the song in an hour. It would be done in an hour. And that's the difference. Because other songs that I had to work and sit down and have like this workshop.
Right. Yeah.
songwriting workshop with myself.
You're
I have
fighting.
to finish
Yeah.
the song. I can't get that bridge. Why can't I get that bridge? It sucks.
I
Why can't
have
I get
that with
that bridge?
paintings sometimes.
Yeah,
Like,
it happens.
sometimes I sit with paintings and I'm like, "Ah, I
Oh,
can't get it right," and I just
yeah.
leave it for a while,
Oh, it's the
and
same
I
thing.
keep looking at it, and I'm like, "Why can't I get this to work right? Like, what the hell?" You know,
It's
and
the same thing.
anything I do is just not working, and
Yeah.
sometimes I just ditch the whole thing, but,
Yeah.
you
I've done
know,
it. I've done
sometimes
it.
I
I've
don't.
ditched it.
It just depends how hard I wanna work at it, but
Yeah.
um,
No,
you
I
know, some
agree.
of them I'm determined.
Yeah. Oh no, but it's the same thing. Or you could be writing a book, writing a
Mhm.
song, trying to write the script to to a TV show,
Yep,
or a painter. An artist is an artist is an artist is an artist. And if you have writer's block, you have writer's block. If you
yeah,
have a creative, this burst of genius, it could be with painting, with writing, with anything.
right.
It's the same. We just have different vehicles,
Yeah.
but
No,
same,
that's true.
we're
That's a
going
good way
down
to
the
put it.
same. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's the same journey. It's just different vehicles, but it's the passion is the same, and that feeling of writer's block, or feeling of inspiration, or divine inspiration, whatever, where you just like wake up with this. You could finish a painting in an hour easily, and it could be your best work.
right,
And there could be another painting, right? I'm sure you, right? You're
right.
laughing because
I do
and
know.
yeah, and that's what happened. Those songs that came to me in a dream, I woke up and I committed to finishing the song, and I penned the entire song in an hour without compromising the quality or rushing it in any way. It was
Right.
completely finished, sign off on it, happy, done,
Wow,
hands off.
that's
One
cool.
hour. Other songs are sitting on my desk, or sitting half finished in the computer for months and months and months, and I'm just not feeling like it's sitting right, and I'm working at it like it's this test that needs to be finished,
Yeah.
and it became this heavy, you know what I mean, this
Yeah.
anvil. I'm trying to carry this anvil that I feel
Oh,
like
yeah.
I must finish this. And
Yeah.
it's like, well, no, sometimes it's just best to put it down and wait for it to just come to you. It's supposed to be
Yep.
creative, and just, it has to come from within, I feel, and just come out.
Yeah. What I
Um,
do too is, for the fine artists out there, I put my paintings in, my living room. So while I'm sitting there doing stuff or watching TV or whatever, if I look at it and sometimes every once in a while with those hard ones that I can't finish, it'll
yeah,
come to me after a while of just sitting there and looking at it every day. And you're like, oh, I know what I should do.
right.
And it'll come eventually.
Oh
So
yeah.
that's another tip for everybody out there. But what is your favorite music story to date? Like, it can be about teaching or being on the road or sessions or you as a drummer in a band. Like, what is your favorite music story? It can be funny, inspirational, whatever it is you want to choose from. I'm sure you
Okay.
have a ton, but
Okay, so I'll dig up a few different things unrelated to each other. There's definitely been there's definitely been a lot of fun and funny moments playing. Many. It's usually fun. Um, some bands were more fun than others.
yeah,
Some were ridiculously crazy fun. Others were boring, but it's still music. It's still fun.
yeah,
But the most inspiring moments were probably not performing. It was, I taught autistic kids drums. I taught an adult that had Down syndrome, pretty, you know to a high degree. Down
yeah,
syndrome,
yeah,
the mind of a child, pretty much, in an adult body. And his just when you think you're burning out doing what you do sometimes,
yeah,
and you feel like you're just going through the grind, and everybody could relate to this.
yeah,
I would go to this guy's house every week, and his parents Well, first of all, he would light up when I would walk in. And his parent, he
Aw.
would light up. It was the highlight of his week was the drum lesson, that
Aw.
half-hour lesson. And his parents, who I became friends with, would tell me, he waits all week for you. He waits all week. You make his life better.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so something that you could take for granted, and I think this
Yeah.
is good stuff. This is good stuff because this is good fuel for your soul for anyone. It has no bearing on what you do for a living or
Yeah.
anything like that, or what your passion is. Sometimes you don't realize how you affect other people.
Oh,
And
yes.
what you think, but you don't even realize it until somebody says something.
Yeah.
And you could be completely blind to it.
Yeah.
And it's very eye-opening to realize that you've affected and changed somebody's life with something that you might have completely taken for granted when you woke up that day. And you'd
Yeah.
be like, well, I'm just teaching drums. It's no big deal. Or I'm
For
just playing.
sure.
It's no
For
big deal.
sure. Well, that's also a good point about giving back. I was teaching at a Montessori school art to the little kids,
Yep.
and just for fun, not being paid. And then I was also volunteering for a orphan shelter in Tampa that they keep all the siblings together. And then I had several different art classes all in one day. My mom came and helped me with that. But I learned from them more, it's like just sitting there listening to them be creative and what inspires them and why they want to do things and how they want to do it. And, um, you know, and just all the questions they were asking me. It's like I learned from them just from being in with them and being in their presence, and it was just
Uh,
so gratifying. So for all those out there who are creatives, try to give back in some way. It's really helps you to stay on track and move forward and give back. So that's awesome.
yeah. Well,
Um,
it's isn't it neat when you go in with what you think is one purpose, that you're the teacher.
oh,
And,
I
and
I learned very quickly. I was like, oh, okay, why not? Let's do it that way.
right. Isn't that cool though? When you
Yeah,
leave there
yeah,
with a lesson that was
yep.
taught to you. I
They
mean,
teach me every
how cool is
time.
that?
They teach
This is
me
how life
something
works.
every time where I'm just like, "Well, I never thought of that." And my mom is in the back just laughing, and
Right.
I'm like, "Okay, let's do
Uh,
that."
No, it's so cool. I think it's great.
Yeah,
And you can learn a lot from any situation if you just open up your eyes and realize, well, what can I get out of this as far as a lesson learned?
yeah,
I'm not necessarily just going in with the purpose of I'm the instructor or the giver, and I could learn nothing from you. Sometimes a
yeah.
child could teach you something in
Oh,
an
for sure.
unexpected way, and I think
Yeah, I wanted
that's
to take
very
them all home with
valuable.
me. I wanted to take them all. One boy in particular I wanted to take with me. Anyway,
I think that's
um,
illegal in certain states, by the way.
yeah, I wanted to adopt him, I should say. But, yeah, anyway,
No, that's great. That's a great
yeah,
story. It really is.
yeah,
There's been other things too, but most of my inspiration actually came from teaching, I think, more than shows. And I
yeah,
said it's heavy, but sometimes I would take that teaching gig for granted. And I was like, I'm just a teaching gig.
yeah,
And then when you hear certain words come out of somebody's mouth face
yep,
to face, and how what that you made a difference, you
right,
realize that something that you think is just this trivial nothing of what you're doing is monumental to somebody else. And
yeah,
because you never know somebody else's story. And when you come into their path and you become a part of their journey, your role has a very different weight, carries a very different weight to it than what you think it does when you're giving, you know,
yes,
because their role may be something different to you, but
yeah,
your role is totally different story. And it's happened at gigs. You're just playing, especially if it's a cover gig or whatever, and just all right, you're just going through the motions. It's like, okay, I got to do this tonight. I did this last night. I'll be doing it
yeah,
tomorrow.
yeah,
You know, yeah. Granted, I'm not, laying down tar you know, and which I may not be good at, but some people, you know, are better at it than I am, I'm sure. But everybody has something to do. But the thing is, I like playing drums more than I would like that. But the thing is, maybe I was going in with a bad attitude is what I'm saying. You know, we all have those moments, right? You're like, oh, I got to do this show again. I really just want to stay home. I don't want to do this drive.
Right.
This is going to suck. You know, you're already building yourself up for a bad night.
Right.
And then somebody comes up to you at the end of the night and they say, hey, I just want you to know, this is our last night of our vacation. And we were going to leave early after dinner and we stayed all night because of you guys. We had the best time. And this was the highlight of our vacation. And that's actually come out of people's mouths.
Wow.
I'm just driving to work thinking I'm just going to work because I got another bill to pay.
You're like, oh, you know? Gosh, another 3 or 4 hours of playing.
Yeah. And especially, you know, sometimes you're just background music for people. They're not even paying attention anyway. So like when you hear that, when you went in thinking that you were going to be just partially ignored or, you know, worse, right? And then you hear somebody come up to you and thank you from the bottom of their hearts, sincerely thank you for making their vacation. I was like, okay, I was wrong.
Yeah.
I was wrong. You know, everybody makes a difference, but it's in ways that you would that you would not expect. And
no, for sure.
We all do that.
That's awesome.
So that's very inspiring. That to me is more inspiring than who I opened for or what was the best gig I had.
Right.
Who cares?
Me too.
You know?
Amen to that. So, my other question for you is, what tools are you using to create music? Like what software, what drums, like whatever you want to share.
Yeah, I ran Pro Tools for 15 years. My sessions, other people's sessions, you know, I record for bands in the area, artists, and produce my own projects on that. And then when my computer died of old age and I had to decide if I want to get Pro Tools again or, you know, I decided to go to Studio One Professional, which I like better, way better. Everybody has their tool. Once you know your software, it really doesn't matter because digital is digital. It's just, I mean, the mechanics of it, it's really just zeros and ones.
Yeah. No,
so
I get
it's really, it's just a digital replica of what the music was. So it doesn't matter. What does matter is getting to know your software and does it resonate with you? Are you comfortable with your software, which I love Studio One. Some people like whatever, you know.
Yeah. So what kind of drums are you using?
I'm using in my studio, it's a mix and match a little bit, but I have a D drum kit, not DW, but D drum. And I'm using them because I got them for free a long time ago and I put them in the studio and that's where they stay. And it's not my favorite brand. I have a Yamaha snare on there that I use for most of my drum sessions that I do for people. I'm a big Tama fan. I've had 2 Tama sets in my life. One of them I had for like 20 years. I love Tama. Pearl is great. There's so many great drummers out there. I do some tribute shows now. Last few years, I've been doing some tribute shows with different bands. My main tribute act is a U2 tribute show. It's called Us Two. Why not?
That's cute.
Look nice and big on a banner. That's why. And you can't forget it. Yeah. So I have a PDP kit, which is made by DW, but it's not as, you know, it's not like $6,000. I've played on many PDP kits in the past, and every time I play on those things at somebody else's house or in a studio somewhere, it's like, God damn, this thing sounds amazing. It's like they sound better than my kit. It blows away anything else I have. So when I started doing more tribute shows, I went out and I bought a brand new PDP kit, and I love it. Love it. They sound phenomenal. And all the sound guys at these, you know, festivals and stuff, they come up to me and they say, your kit sounds great. And I say, that's why I bought those. So, so I like PDP. Yeah. Okay. I want to say I play D drum. The D drums have just been sitting in the studio, but you know, it's the heads that you put on them drastically affect the way those are going to sound. So, and honestly, I do so many things to them to deaden them just enough to record perfectly.
Yeah.
like every studio does. So
Yes.
they're not really, you're not really hearing the drum. You know, you're
Yeah.
hearing what I did to it to make it sound perfect when that mic is 1 inch away from the head.
Right. Right.
That's just the reality of it. But that makes for a happy client when I give them the drum tracks. But
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. That's
y-
awesome.
yeah,
So, what would you like to see in music and creativity in the future? This is like one of my last
all right,
questions.
less AI.
Like less AI. Okay.
That's a
That's
whole other
a
topic.
controversial topic. Let's go in there.
Well, I think AI overall is great if it's controlled. So a
What do you
student of
mean by
mine,
controlled?
well, I mean, in general, world on a world global level,
Okay. Yeah.
AI could easily get out of hand. It's already much more powerful than what most humans could do. I've seen just in music alone, and this is why this, and I knew it was going to get hairy. I don't know if you're familiar with Suno or some of those other companies that are out now. They're AI generated songs that you could upload your lyrics and
It'll
it'll think
create
for
for
about
you in
15
the
seconds.
genre?
You could choose the genre. You could
Wow.
choose what kind of singer you want. You could choose multiple
Wow.
genres, and it will. I've watched this in front of my face generate 4 copies of a song in 4 different genres in 30 seconds with with a vocalist that sounds like a human and a full production that's ready to be released now. Sounds broadcast ready.
Wow.
And my jaw dropped. I couldn't believe what I heard. I was like, this is good. It's like
Wow.
real good. It's very, very, very good.
Yeah.
And you have a country version, a dance club version, whatever, hip
That's
hop,
good. Yeah.
whatever you want, hard rock. You tell her what you
Wow.
want, male singer, female singer. It spins for about 15, 30 seconds and bang, 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 bang. I was like, that's scary.
Yeah.
But I watched my student demonstrated it for me, and it's really good. But I told him, I said, don't think this is going to be an easy ride. There's going to be a lot of pushback, a lot
Yeah.
of industry pushback. So now, of course, they're being sued by Sony Records, Warner Brothers,
Right.
Universal. They're being sued for copyright infringement. And it turns out that they did model it after people's copyrighted works. They did,
Oh.
because they took it because, and there's this whole thing going on now with TuneCore and all the big
Oh, so
distributors
they used
because
other people's work to train the
to
system.
train
Okay.
it. But what is
Yeah.
train? So I want you to define train. What is train?
Yeah.
Take
Well, it's
99% of it, but not
algorithm.
100%.
Yeah.
What's train?
Yeah.
So there's a
Right.
huge gray area with that. And now they're going into court with all that stuff. And I predicted the whole thing. I said, it's very impressive, super impressive, but it has to be regulated because you just can't upload a bunch of lyrics and you never played an instrument in your life and you could release that
Yeah.
along with all the songwriters that have devoted their entire lives to their craft and refining
Yeah.
their skills.
Well, I don't think this is my humble opinion. I don't think that we can get rid of the humanness of anything creative. Like even if we're using tools, you still have to have the human has to have the idea and the concept and the creative. But you telling me that it's creating it from lyrics
Oh,
is
it's unbelievable. No,
yeah,
it's scary. It's
that's a
scary.
little scary. Yeah.
I yeah, I yeah. It's sick. It's you honestly can't imagine how scary good it is. It's like
Yeah.
that
Oh
good
boy.
in seconds. So when I say
Yeah.
controlled, I mean if they're gonna come to some kind of agreement and meet in the middle and have a middle ground where they could be like, okay, we're allowed to release this. Maybe Spotify and other platforms will have a section
Right.
for AI music where people know this is AI generated music and they could enjoy it, and that's fine.
Right.
But there's the rest of the world where they release this stuff organically, and there's an AI playlist, and that's
Right.
probably what's going to happen. I don't think they're going to be able to eradicate it. It's already too. They're not
Yeah.
going to be able to erase it. It's but it
Yeah, the
has to be
cat is
controlled.
out of the bag for sure.
Yeah.
And I think it's in its stage. It's a double-edged sword. There's going to be a dark AI just like there's a dark web. And I think that, is we don't know what this little baby is going to turn out to be yet because it's still growing. So
Right.
yeah,
Well, I can
we'll
tell you
have,
what's going to happen. If
yeah,
Suno, another company, if they get sued enough, and the people that are suing, the songwriters that are suing, keep winning, and they have to keep forking over money,
yeah,
they're gonna rethink how they do things, and they're
right.
gonna have to take a step back and say, okay,
How can we do
maybe
this
we're
different?
grabbing a little too much from the copyrighted works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's messed up. So I'm glad that they're suing. Anyway, so I think that's it for today. Thank you so much. I went a little over my time. Hope you don't mind, but
I
thank
don't.
you so much. I really enjoyed our conversation.
Me
For
too.
everybody listening, I'll provide all of Jeff's info and sites in the description so you can look and see and reach out to him if you need to. But thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. It was awesome.
If you haven't already, please like and subscribe. Feel free to nominate yourself or someone you know as our next guest. Thank you for being a part of our creative community. Stay inspired and keep shining bright.